This video is going to go over some of the sidearms you want to look out for whilst you are clearing your vault before Heresy launches. The reason why you want to look for your sidearms is because the only anti-barrier champion mod up next week will be barrier sidearm. There's no barrier scout. There's no barrier unstoppable. There's none of it. So you've only got Wish Ender, Revision Zero, Chill Clip, and Radiant to stun barriers, and volatile rounds as well. That's the stuff you've got to stun barriers. If you're not using any of the stuff I've mentioned, you've got to rely on a sidearm. So this is a very important topic. Now, before I show you the roles and everything, don't fight with me over god rolls, because over the years I have fought with a lot of guardians over the years about god rolls. And what it ends up coming down to is, if you fight with me enough about a god roll, I will 1v1 you in Bannerfall, and I will sort out the dispute. If you say to me, no, you're wrong about your god roll, it's this one, and then I say, well, no, you're wrong, I'll 1v1 you in Bannerfall to prove it. And that's how I sort out my instigations with people. So don't fight with me over god rolls. Don't fight with me over it. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help players. I don't have to make this video. I could totally just stay silent today because there's nothing going on. But no, I'm not being silent. I'm making a video. So the categories of the sidearms are as follows. My Hunter has the rocket sidearms. My Titan has the exotic sidearms. And my Warlock has the primary weapon sidearms. So I'm going to timestamp the video and go through each category. Yes, they're all important. They all have some important advices. It's not just use rocket sidearms. It isn't just that, because I've looked into it today. Let's go over the rocket sidearms. Remember, don't fight with me over god rolls. And don't misquote me on videos, because I'll timestamp your ass quicker than you can imagine. Right. Rocket sidearm kinetic slot. There are only two. Let's talk Tenacious Mastery. Now you're gonna call me out and say I haven't got a god roll, and I haven't. You're right. See, the god roll is air trigger and chill clip. Air trigger, chill clip. Because generally in Destiny 2 on primary weapons, or even rocket, even special weapons, you want a reload perk and a damage buff. Or double damage buff if you can, but generally a reload perk and a damage buff. Offhand strike, it ain't no air trigger. An air trigger gives you more ammo. So the god roll, and I'm gonna quote this timestamp if somebody says I haven't mentioned it. The god roll is air trigger and chill clip, but I don't have it. Lord Shax hasn't given me it, because he just hasn't given me it, because it's RNG. Do we know what RNG means? Random number generator. There is no confirmed end drop loot of Tenacious Mastery. So for people who do not have air trigger, you're okay with just using chill clip. You can make it work without air trigger. All right. As long as you've got some mag, pick the biggest mag option here so that you get the biggest mag possible, because chill clip works with your backup mag. So if you're getting the 16 shots, you'll get 8 shots there of chill clip, for example. Right, it'll work with the top half of the mag, because we've got backup mag, extended mag. See, if I do tac mag, I get a better reload but one less. Oh, it goes down to 14, the lion game. See that lion stuff there? There it says 15 and it goes to 16. Lion. See, how can we be optimized with stats in the game when we've got BS like that going on? Look at that. Because that does matter, you know. If I go down to 14, I've only got 7 shots of chill clip. Hey, we are min-maxing to that degree. Extended mag goes on, son. That's what happens with it. Right, Tenacious Mastery will chill clip, stun all champions, barriers, unstoppables, and overloads. It's going to be a top contender next week. So make sure you got at least some sort of chill clip Tenacious Mastery. However, if you want a more damage style kinetic version of a rocket sidearm, the call is the choice. Now, for Dato casualists or Dato elitists, you're going to call me out and say Vorpal is a 2017 perk, and I'm going to say, well, it might be, but it does increase damage to bosses and champions. Champions are bosses, mini bosses in fact. You will get a 15% buff by hitting a champ. This is a trait that you want to put on the call. Back that up with a demolitionist. Also enhance the perks. So I'm going to actually enhance the perks later on tonight. I'm going to put enhanced demo on. I might not put enhanced Vorpal on, because I don't think enhanced Vorpal does much. But enhanced demo does. You get a lot more green energy back. So go and craft the call. Make sure that you got that craft right. And yes, it's worth the Ascendant Alloys. I've got tons of Ascendant Alloys, Guardian. Before you say, why haven't you enhanced it? I've got 25, look, son. I've got them there. Right. That is your call. Call is fantastic. It's got a half-decent origin trait as well. Those are the traits I recommend on it. Not really anything else. Don't worry about like hatchling or something like that. I don't even know if it's got hatchling, but even if it has, do not do hatchling. You need the damage buff. We are playing D2. Bungie's trying to make Destiny 2 harder and harder and harder each season. You need to min-max your buffs and your debuffs accordingly, people. Right. Energy slot. One of the best sidearms in the game, a Baron Action, a solo rocket sidearm. Heel Clip Incandescent is the role that I suggest to you. Heel Clip is too good to not use. There are other things on a Baron Action, but ultimately this is the 10 out of 10 role that you want. Okay, there you go. Go and craft a Baron Action. You don't need to argue that G roll because it is a G roll. Now we come to Indebted Kindness. Bungie give us all the God roll from to the Gunsmith. So you should have picked up the God roll, Indebted Kindness, Loose Change, Vault Shot. This is the absolute roll that you want to use. Unless you've maybe got an Impulse Amplifier roll, maybe that's fine. But, you know, Loose Change is nice with Vault Shot because you're getting a buff when you jolt. The problem with Indebted Kindness is it's not craftable like the other rolls are. So you're up to RNG Mercy, whether you get the roll. Now, I've got some other rolls as well. I've got Impulse Amplifier Deconstruct and I've got Lead from Gold Deconstruct. You know why I've kept these rolls? I'm going to tell you why. Because before the final shape, Deconstruct had a little meta going on. During the Into the Light phase, there was a small 3-4 week period where Deconstruct was doing massive major things in the game. The problem is they've nerfed and nerfed and nerfed it. Now it's no good. It's only good when you're up against vehicles, like in the 0 Hour mission. So if you're fighting up against Brigs, tanks and all that sort of stuff, Deconstruct works, but only then. So I don't recommend it. You know why I'm keeping them, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because they might buff Deconstruct again in the future, and when they do, I'll be ready for the Deconstruct meta again. But right now we're not in a Deconstruct meta, so in other words, you need a Vault Shot, Indebted Kindness. You need to be using the Vault Shot, Indebted Kindness. That is the best role right now to use, and everybody got it for free. So there's no excuses. You should have the role that I've said to you, because it's the role that I picked up from Gunsmith. Right, those are the rocket sidearms. Those are your rocket sidearms. It's really simple with rocket sidearms. Because the reason why it's simple, because there's not many rocket sidearms. There's going to be a new Void rocket sidearm next week available. Well, I don't know if it's available next week, but it's coming out with Heresy. The Void rocket sidearm, I think it's a GM weapon, right? I don't know. I'm not that care enough about it to know, but yeah, there's a Void rocket sidearm coming out. All right, now you've had your rocket sidearms. Now let's go on to exotic sidearms. Now there are only 2 or 3 exotic sidearms that you want. I'm just going to mention all of them and tell you the ones that are rubbish and the ones that are good. And there's a secret meta one. There is a secret meta exotic sidearm that you want to use for next week. I'm giving you a heads up. I'm giving you the secret findings. I'm giving you the in-depth informations. Okay. Here it is. Right. The kinetic sidearms. Rat King is in no meta at all. It's for niche things, for going invis. You don't need to be using Rat King. I'm just showing you that it exists. Rat King loyalists, I'm sorry, we're not in a Rat King meta. Maybe at some point we will be, but right now we're not Rat King loyalists. Okay, final warning. Now I'm going to get the catalyst later on. I've got it. I just need to complete it. I don't like final warning, I'll be honest. I feel as though the gun's funky. Although apparently it puts out a lot of damage, more than what we all think. So I'll have a look at that later on, and I'll do the catalyst, and maybe you should too. But maybe players need to convince me that final warning is a meta pick, but I don't think it is. I just think it's far too clunky to use, but it could be a skill issue that I'm not very good with final warning, and I haven't even done the catalyst. So I am in no way reviewing the gun. I'm saying that nobody uses this, and why is it that nobody uses it? Maybe somebody down below can tell me why nobody uses final warning and only some players use it. Because it does do damage. Apparently it does a lot of damage. Traveler's Chosen, I never use this weapon. I just picked it out my collections right now. It is an ability regen sidearm and it doesn't do very good in PvE. It's more of a PvP style weapon, I believe. Again, somebody, if you can, whoever mains Traveler's Chosen in PvE, can you please tell me why you do and why I should? Because I can't find a reason why I would use this over other exotic sidearms. Please tell me, because I can't find a reason why I would. Right, now this is what I exactly recommend. This is going to be a meta pick next week. Now, do we know how Wish Ender and Arbalest works on barrier champs? They stun in one shot. Forerunner will stun a barrier champ as long as you're appropriately level, 2 to 3 shots. This is a long-range weapon. Do not be confused. You're baited. It's not a sidearm. It's a damn scout rifle, is this. You can use Forerunner up to 40 to 50 meter range radius. This is going to be the LFG gun that you use when you're doing Grandmaster Nightfalls and you need somebody with barrier rounds on. You put on Forerunner. Yes, Tenacious Mastery will melt, but Forerunner will melt more than Tenacious Mastery. Trust that. Forerunner is a top weapon for precision damage, and it's a top weapon against tormentors. Don't get confused on that. Forerunner is 557 kills. By the way, that's 557 dungeon bosses. I wish they would have a distinction on ads and stuff. Yeah, that's 557 dungeon bosses, that. And that's a lot of bosses it's killed that. It absolutely is. So, Forerunner, it's absolutely fantastic. It's class. I'll be using it next week. It does so much damage, and it's got a second grenade. It gives you a second grenade called the Rock. Now the Rock, I need to test it, but it was doing good damage when it first came out. I will say that that's not the main thing about the gun. The main thing about the gun is that you can stun champions from such a long way that it just makes it a mini Arbalest, but in a sidearm format, and does more damage than Arbalest as well. Keep your eyes on Forerunner. It's going to be a meta within itself. The rest of them, I can't say the same for. None of them. The only one I can say is Forerunner. Anyways, energy slot. Buried Bloodline is getting an 8% crit buff next week. Now, if you have Buried Bloodline, it's very good because it gives you Devour. Now, why is this good? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Say, for example, next week you want to play Striker Titan because Striker Titan's getting huge buffs. Well, you could pop on Buried Bloodline with a Striker Titan and get Devour on your Striker Titan. Boom, there you go. You'll give your Striker Titan survivability by just using this weapon. This weapon does more damage than any other rocket sidearm. When I read into the buff, they want you to use Buried Bloodline, but many people don't have it. If you have it, give it a try next week because it complements builds that don't have survivability. For example, Striker Titan doesn't have it. Back it up with Buried Bloodline, all of a sudden you've got Devour. Devour being one of the best health regen perks in the game. Fantastic. Buried Bloodline, one of the top guns to use next week. Right, Devil's Rune has fell off the meta ladder and isn't doing what I want it to do. I have tested this out in a solo GM at Christmas and Devil's Rune doesn't do the damage. It stuns Unstoppables intrinsically. This weapon will not stun barrier champs because it has intrinsic Unstoppable Champion. You cannot have a dual wielding weapon that has intrinsic and an artifact mod together. No weapons work like this in the game ever. There was only one time it happened and that was with Malfeasance and it was bugged 2 years ago, whenever it was. So Devil's Rune, they need to buff it. Why haven't they buffed it? I don't get why they haven't buffed it for Heresy. Maybe they may still change their minds because it needs a buff. The laser and the damage just isn't there. And it's a fun gun to use, so please, they need to buff it some point because Devil's Rune's a very good gun. When it's in meta, when it's an actual pick. And there was a time when it was a pick, long time ago. If you know, you know. I have a video about it when I done it, and it's one of my most viewed videos ever. I done a solo GM with Devil's Rune, and it's one of my most viewed videos from a long time ago, a few years ago now. Trespasser. So Trespasser, I've not used it in forever, but when I picked it out of collections and had a look, it's got kill clip. It's got a better version of kill clip. So it says reloading after defeating a target causes the next burst to be longer and more powerful super burst. Now, because of the Arc Artifact mods next week, this will synergize with a lot of Arc stuff. I'm not saying Trespasser is going to be a meta pick. I'm just saying be aware of it, that it exists. We need to see what the super burst damage is like. I don't know. I tried it in the past and it was okay, but we have to see what it's like next week. I don't know. It probably won't be the damage, but I'm just saying, you know, it exists. You never know. There might be something there. Right, that's exotic sidearms covered. Let's go to primary. Let's go to primary sidearms. Okay, this is going to get salty, isn't it? Because a lot of PVE players don't want to use a primary sidearm in PVE. They don't like them. So, well, not all people, but 90% of PVE players use SMGs. So the close quarter weapon choice is either sidearm or SMG. Hand cannon, but hand cannon does more range than the two. So PVE players pick SMGs. However, there are some golden diamonds amongst the sidearms in the game. A lot of sidearms are trash. A lot of sidearms are trash in this game. But there are 3 or 4 god roll sidearms that you can be effective with in endgame. And I absolutely can tell you it, and it is true. So I know people aren't going to be a fan of this section. That's why I include it at the end. But here are the sidearms that I would recommend for PvE that use primary ammo. And you will want to use a primary ammo sidearm at some point. It won't be just rocket sidearm spam the entire time. There might be times when we need a primary sidearm on. I'm talking about the full season of Heresy. I'm not just talking about day 1 or day 2 or day 6. I'm talking about the full season. Right, so here's the primary sidearms that I recommend. Fan favourite Breachlight, and for good reason. It's a very good, consistent weapon in PvE. Now look at my role. I've got Demo Pugilist in this slot, and I've got Vorpal or Hatchling, so I can do ad clear, or I can do more of a damage style one. Remember, Vorpal weapon is a 15% buff against champs. You are going to use this on champs, so you will take down the shield 15% quicker, and you'll do more damage. Or I could do a hatchling roll, because hatchling's okay. On a sidearm, at least, it's okay. And sort of do it like that. Now, I can do demo for light subclasses, or for the darkness subclass with melee-based stuff, I can do pugilist. Go and focus Breachlight and see if you can get a god roll at the helm, because it's available right now to do. Okay, there you go. That's the first recommendation. Second recommendation, this is the absolute best primary sidearm in the kinetic slot in the game, apart from exotics and rocket sidearms. We're not including those two. So out of the primary sidearms that are legendary, this is your best one. I've got Overflow Kinetic Tremors. Now, I have used this in the past for barrier sidearm, and it melts. This is going to be one of my most used sidearms next month, in Heresy. Because Kinetic Tremors is just so good with this sidearm. It's unbelievably good. Make sure before Tuesday you go and focus some engrams at Zavala for a good buzzard with Kinetic Tremors. You need the Kinetic Tremors on there. It will massively melt barrier champs so fast, so quickly. Right, now I kept a Peace Bond. Peace Bond, it's an old weapon, but I actually quite like Peace Bond. I'm guessing most people didn't keep it, but he's a role that I did keep. Subsistence Headstone, it's a pretty nice sidearm. It ain't no meta-defining sidearm, but it's a sidearm that I've kept just in case. Spoiler warning's very good. Alright, now I've got a Frenzy, Feed and Frenzy roll. This sidearm melts. It looks like a little pew-pew gun, but once you start using it, it's like, what? You're melting that quickly with this. It's more for mid-game, not for end-game as much. But it is a weapon that I will use and try. Spoiler alerts, the frame, it's so good. The lightweight frame, such a snappy weapon, and it melts ads quickly. So yeah, that's a good one. Okay, this is a very unique role I'm keeping. Headstone Surrounded. You want a surrounded sidearm somewhere in your vault. Go and check for a surrounded sidearm. Sidearms are like SMGs. Surrounded, you can take advantage of the surrounded buff more often than other weapons. So surrounded is a top tier perk on sidearms. So make sure that you check your surrounded sidearms for rolls. This roll's very good, by the way. It's a very unique one. A lot of people say Liminal Vigil's bad, but I don't think it is. I think it's all right. I think it's okay. Better than what you give it credit for, but I do think Buzzard's the best kinetic sidearm. going. For endgame, it's the best one. It absolutely is because of kinetic tremors. Right, now we come to energy sidearms. He's the GOAT, the king. All address the king by his name. He's called Google Chrome King. Look, that's his name. Look at that shader on there. What's the damn shader called? Gambit Chrome it's called, not Google Chrome. Right, heel clip incandescent. So basically, you're not unkillable with the roll, but you nearly are. Heel clip's that good in PVE that it allows you to stay alive in endgame when you're up against it. And Heliocentric's fantastic. Make sure you try and get this roll as well before Tuesday. Heel clip incandescent. It's very good. It's unbelievable how good it is. A lot of people might not know about this roll. Very, very good weapon. Go and have a look for it. Okay, next roll. Now, I haven't got a god roll on this, but what I will say is it's got amazing... The field tested origin trait's very good. I may focus the weapon again, but the roll that you want is Eddy Current and Vault Shot, or Strategist Vault Shot. If you can get that roll, that's the god roll. I haven't got it, but I've got a Vault Shot roll, right? So I'll end up testing this out, but I've got a better Vault Shot roll anyways. I'm just mentioning that if you've got Crucible engrams, focus for this one because it's actually rather good. Look at its frame, lightweight frame again. It's got the favourable frame and it's got that arc, and a field test, it gives you amazing reload. Amazing reload. Right. I don't recommend this weapon, by the way. I've got it because I've just got it because I just want to see what Destabilizing Rounds is going to be like next week. I don't recommend it. You know why? Because the frame's too slow. 260 RPM sidearms are not good in the game. I'm keeping it just in case they end up, it ends up being good, but it won't be. I'm just keeping it just in case for future. I do not recommend this sidearm. I'm just showing you that I've kept a roll. That is it. Okay, this sidearm, I highly recommend it. So I highly recommend it because it's got Vault Shot on it and it's got some other traits. Go and have a look at Brigand's Law on the crafting table and go and craft it. For whatever reason, I've got a Threat Detector Vault Shot one. Threat Detector is very good when you're playing highly aggressive on a sidearm playstyle. Very good, especially with the times 2. When you get Threat Detector times 2, I'm a massive fan of Threat Detector. Vault Shot's going to be very good. Brigand's Law is so fast, by the way. Look at its RPM, 450. Rapid fire frame sidearm. This might be a meta in itself, this weapon. Next week. Very, very good, and it complements arc builds perfectly. It's really good. I can't understate how good Brigand's Law is. It's so fun in PvE. Alright, Drang. Now, Drang is one of those sidearms that has really good range. I don't know why it's only got 47 range here, because when we use Drang, it feels like a hand cannon. Honestly, the amount of range that you get with Drang is incredible. I've got Enhanced Wellspring, Enhanced Incandescent. I tried this roll a long, long time ago, and Enhanced Wellspring's kind of nice on this gun. So, yeah, Drang's really good. I'm not really highly recommending it over Brigand's Law because Brigand's Law is going to be benefiting from arc mods. But I'm saying that if you want to use a high range sidearm like Drang, you can. I don't know why the range stats 47 now looking at it. Because when I'm using it, Drang, if you don't know or remember, when it was last barrier sidearm, there was a meta, not when it was last, sorry, when it was 2019 barrier sidearm, for people who have been here since then, people used Drang to stun barrier champs. If you didn't have Eriana's Vow, people relied on Drang to stun barrier champs. Yeah, my knowledge goes that far back. 2019, there was a meta where people used Drang. It might have been 2020 early. Let me think, because GM's come out 2019 winter. It could have been early 2020. Whenever it was, though, Drang was a weapon relied upon because you could stun a barrier champ from a further distance away. If you didn't have Eriana's Vow, because back then not everybody had Eriana's Vow, you needed to do 50 Gambit matches to get Eriana's Vow. I got Eriana quickly. I got the catalyst within 2 days, I think. I really did get it fast. But some people didn't have it, so they used Drang instead. I'm just saying Drang's a very good weapon. It's very good. All right. I kept another roll from a long time ago. I don't recommend it, but I kind of like it. It's like a breach light, but in the energy slot. I've got a Fear and Frenzy 1 for all roll with high caliber rounds. I'm not recommending this roll. I'm just showing you that I've kept it. Okay, 7th Seraph. If you've got the roll, if you've got this weapon and you've got a good roll on it, keep it. I've just said surrounded sidearms are very good in the game. I've got a demo surrounded 7th Seraph. I kept it from the Warmind Cell era, and I'm still keeping it. Right, because I just love this gun. It's a very fast feeling sidearm in the game. It can't create Warmind cells. Imagine if it could, that would be amazing, but it can't. I'm just saying, you can still actually get 7 Seraph. So if you're a fan of this weapon, maybe have a look if you can get it. But yeah, that's my information on all the sidearms. To summarize it, you want to make sure that you've crafted all your sidearms accordingly. Make sure you got Tenacious Mastery with Chill Clip. Make sure that you got a Vault Shot Indebted Kindness. Make sure that you've infused Forerunner, because Forerunner is going to be a mini Arbalist, mini Wish Ender. Make sure that you're going to use the Berry Bloodline as well. Make sure that you get a Heliocentric with Hail Clip Incandescent. Make sure you check Brigand's Law. Make sure that you focus a Breach Light. And make sure you focus a Buzzard. That's my summary on sidearms. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.